You've learned how to earn with the stars. Now let's talk about how to keep and grow what you earn. Because saving and investing aren't just about discipline. They're about timing, energy, and alignment. So today we're diving into how your chart can guide smarter financial strategy through the lens of astrology. So if you want to know more, stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new around here, hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer and sound therapist, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if you're new, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So today we're talking all about saving and investing the astrological way. All right. So this is a very broad topic. So I'm basically just going to skim the surface when it comes to this information. But much like everything else, astrology, and specifically your natal chart, can tell you different information, especially when it comes to crafting a financial strategy when it comes to saving and investing. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it. So before we get into all of the juicy details, I want to welcome you to week 4 of the 31-day Money and Astrology series. All right. So if you're new here, this series helps you understand your natal chart so you can create more ease, flow, and strategy around your finances. So over the last couple of weeks, we've set the foundation, we've read Venus for Filth, and we've talked about timing. This week, I'll be discussing the practical side of all of this, integration and strategy. All right, so quick reminder before we dive in. Okay, first, there's still time to enter the giveaway. All right, we're getting close to the finish line and the prizes drop once we hit our subscriber milestone. All details are in the description box below, so enter now to win. All right, next, every Friday I go live inside Cosmic Collective, my private online community for Q&A. So if you've got questions about your money, placements, natal chart, come hang out and ask them. All right, and then finally, my one-on-one reading the blueprint maps your unique money path and helps you apply everything we're covering here to your real life goals. So if you are interested in booking a one-on-one session with me, the first step would be to book a free 15-minute clarity call, and the link to that is in the description box below. And I know I said finally before, but this is really finally, all right? And if you want to learn astrology step by step, keep an eye out for my beginner program, Charted, which is launching really soon, all right? It is my self-paced course, mini course, let's say, where you can learn how to read your natal chart from soup to nuts, all right? So now that all of the admin and announcements are out of the way, let's talk about saving and investing the astrological way. All right, so at the outset, I want you to think about and meditate on this core idea, all right? Astrology shows you how you manage money, which is Venus, where you build stability, Earth, houses, and signs, and when to take calculated risks, Jupiter and the transits, all right? So it's not even just about your natal chart as it is, right? Although that is a big part of crafting a financial strategy around saving and investing, but it also includes things like transits. And if you're new around here, if you're new to astrology, transits are when the current planetary movements in the sky, right? Like as of today, it is October 20th. So wherever, let's say Jupiter is in the sky right now, if it is pinging or activating any planet or point in your natal chart, that is known as a transit. As a matter of fact, it's called a personal transit, all right? So when we're thinking about saving and investing, our natal chart really tells us about our blueprint, right? Sort of how we're designed to do either of those things. But then when you add transits onto it, it's like now we're talking about timing. Now we're talking about when to do certain things and maybe even how to do them, all right? So let's talk about some key planetary insights. So Venus and Saturn together, this equals financial discipline, all right? This is set saving systems that feel pleasurable and practical, all right? Save toward what delights you or what you're passionate about, not just what you fear losing, all right? And this goes back to everything I've been saying throughout this series, especially as it relates to Venus. Venus is about pleasure. And I feel like in society, we're like on either end of the spectrum when it comes to that. Either we are hedonistic and we're like, I'm about to use an old school word here, but you're just like YOLO. I know I'm probably dating myself. And you're just like, listen, balls to the wall. Let me just have all the fun I want because Earth is going to implode tomorrow. Or you are perhaps on the other end of that spectrum where it's like, listen, I really got to tighten up. There's no room for pleasure. I got to work. I got to save. I do all of these things. And what I love about Venus and Saturn together, now, whether they are, together in your natal chart forming an aspect, or whether they're being pinged by a transit of some sort, they remind you that it's sort of the best of both worlds. It's like Saturn is the taskmaster. Saturn is definitely about savings. Saturn is definitely about, okay, we're doing this for real. We're structuring ourselves. Okay. But then when you add Venus to Saturn, she's kind of like, but don't forget to have fun. Like there's a little room for a little coffee. I know we're on our savings plan or we're paying down debt. All right. But you can still get your Starbucks, maybe not every day, but how about 3 times out of the week, right? So when you put those two together, it reminds you to save and structure, but don't do it from a place of fear. Do it from a place of pleasure. All right. So next, let's talk about Jupiter. So Jupiter equals investment timing, okay? Track Jupiter transits to spot growth windows. Invest in education, business, or opportunities that expand your values. Now, you may not find too much information, I think, on Jupiter and investing. But keep in mind that Jupiter is the planet of luck and abundance. It's a planet of expansion. And so when we think about Jupiter, it sort of makes sense naturally that it includes or it definitely covers or governs investing, okay? And so Jupiter wants you to invest in things that you believe in, things that expand your values, because that's just how Jupiter rolls, all right? It's not just investing for the sake of investing, right? Jupiter kind of hones in on what do you value? What do you believe in? It's almost like when people talk about in the terms of work, right? How you should do something that you're passionate about. When it comes to investing, it's like Jupiter is like, okay, this is where we're going to take a bit of a risk, right? Because Jupiter is also the planet of luck. But that risk is sort of calculated, or at least it's mitigated by the fact that we are doing something that's not only going to expand us, but also is in alignment with our values. So that's something really important to remember. And this could be Jupiter's placement in your natal chart, or it could be a Jupiter transit. All right. So now let's talk about Mars. Mars equals action and risk. Mars transits show when motivation spikes. Channel that drive into intentional moves, not impulsive spending. I love Mars energy. Now, it can be kind of a lot, it can be a little intense, but Mars is the planet of action. And so when we are talking about saving or investing, depending on where Mars is in your natal chart, number one, or even where Mars is, transiting or how it's transiting and how it's affecting your natal chart, this could be a time to take action, whether in terms of spending or in investing, right? Mars is associated with risk. So, of course, it speaks more to the investment side of things as opposed to spending. Although, depending on your financial situation, saving could really be a risk, right? But Mars will spark action. But it's really important to understand that action, that risk taking should be somewhat calculated and not merely impulsive. So now let's talk about Earth energy. And by Earth energy, I mean Earth sign energy, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Okay, so anytime you have either planets or you have transits that are pinging or activating the Earth signs in your chart, this is the best time for budgeting, for steady returns, and tangible results. I want you to think of the earth signs as stability. These are the signs associated with foundation and building and, things that stand the test of time. And so when we're talking about saving and investing, whenever there is an earth sign activation to your natal chart, it's a great time for budgeting, especially like Virgo energy, Virgo season, it's a great time to reevaluate your budget, to revamp your budget. Taurus is all about the builder, so that's sort of where you lay the groundwork. And then Capricorn is very much about long-term success. And so that's when you may think of an investment plan that may be low risk, but returns in the long run. Now let's talk about air sign energy, and this would be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So this is ideal for digital investments, networking opportunities, and innovative income streams. Remember that air signs have a lot to do with communication and tech. So when there is an air sign transit, or when an air sign is being activated in your natal chart by transit, it's a great time to learn more, especially when we're talking about investments, right? Even when we're talking about savings. Let's say you're looking to open up a new savings account. If there's an air sign activation in your natal chart, it's a great time to research different high yield savings accounts, where you could get different high yield savings accounts, investment accounts, researching white papers if you're talking about investments, and tech, right? And so tech is everything these days. And so sort of centering your savings and investments around those kind of things, or doing research regarding those things when there are air sign activations in your chart, that is a really smart move. All right. So now let's talk about astrological cycles for strategy. So I cannot do these videos without giving you some sort of strategy. This series isn't meant to just spew and spit information out at you. It's to get you to understand certain astrological themes, astrological information, and how to immediately implement them in your life. And so I really hope that I'm doing that with this series. All right. So first, when there's a new moon in earth signs, this is a great time to set savings intentions. And this is actually something that I practice in my own life. As a matter of fact, whenever there is a new moon period, that is when I add money to my savings accounts. And I think what I'm going to do is, when there is a new moon in earth signs, this would be a great time to add money to an investment account as well. But either way, since new moons are all about setting new intentions and planting new seeds, definitely sounds like some savings activity, right? Next, when there is a waxing moon, and again, to reiterate, or maybe not to reiterate, maybe you're learning this for the first time, the time between a new moon and a full moon is known as the waxing phase. And this is the phase when we build momentum, when we take action. And so during a waxing moon phase, it's a great time to add to savings or to invest. That is the action that you would be taking during that waxing phase of the moon. Next, when we encounter a full moon, this is a great time to review returns and rebalance. If you've watched any of my moon series videos, I always tell you that during the full moon, that is the time for observation. Everyone wants to manifest all the time, but nature and astrology tells us when to do certain things. And when there's a full moon, it is a great time to observe, because everything is illuminated by the light of the moon. So this is the time when you kind of see the fruits of your labor, whether you've done the work, where you've done the savings and investing and you're seeing what that has yielded you, or if you haven't done anything and the full moon is a reminder that, hey, maybe next new moon, you should start adding some money to that savings account, or putting money aside so you can eventually invest, right? The full moon is great for enlightenment and clarity, specifically when it comes to saving and investments in terms of your financial strategy. And then when we get to the waning moon, which is the period between the full moon and the new moon, which is when we release what no longer serves us, it's a great time to release debt or cancel unnecessary subscriptions. I'm going to repeat that again. It's a time to handle your debt. And you know that free trial that you signed up for, 7 days free, and now all of a sudden, every month your your checking account is, depleted by some random ass subscription. Yeah, when it's a waning moon, it's a great time to put a stop to those things and then redirect those funds to something else, like a savings account, high yield savings account, or an investment account. All right. So as you can see, when it comes to the astrology, we're looking not only at our natal chart in terms of our style of saving and investing, and I spoke about that in previous videos in this series, but we're also talking about transits, when transits are pinging or activating certain aspects or certain parts of your natal chart which can signal a good time to save and or invest. We're also talking about the moon phases, and I've also talked about that in previous videos, when certain phases of the moon are great for certain saving and investment activities. All right, so hopefully all of that made sense. And hopefully, as we make our way to the final videos in this series, all of this is starting to come together in terms of how to use your natal chart, even other charts and transits, in order to change your financial story, or before we get to changing it, understanding your financial story. All right, so now let's get into some quick integration tips and why any of this even matters anyway. All right, so first, your chart shows your natural wealth rhythm. The best way is to grow money without fighting your energy. And this speaks to everything I've been saying over this entire series, as well as I feel like my entire professional astrological career. When you flow with nature, nature flows with you. And when we talk about something like saving and investing, of course, your natal chart has everything to say about that. And it shows you how you are naturally inclined to do those things. So you're not, paddling upstream. You're not just doing things because everyone else is doing it or it's popular. You're doing what works for you. And when you do that, that's when you see real results. Not only do you see real results, but let's keep it a buck, right? That's when you experience peace, peace of mind. Going with the flow, as difficult as it may be, is everything. And most importantly, it signifies peace of mind. And that's exactly what astrology is all about. All right. So when you follow that rhythm, saving stops feeling restrictive and investing becomes intuitive. I cannot say enough about that. And I know that many of us, at least one point in our lives, have felt like savings is such a chore, where it's difficult. You've got to sacrifice too much. It goes against capitalism and consumerism, right? So it can feel arduous. But when you do it in a way that you are designed to do it, it becomes less restrictive. It becomes more natural. And that, I think, is half the battle, because if it feels like a chore, you are not inclined to do it. But when it feels natural, yeah, you're more inclined to do it. More importantly, investing becomes intuitive. And this is huge because you're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And that can be a very costly lesson to learn, because this is money that we're dealing with, right? Your money when it comes to investing. When you allow your intuition to drive the car, especially when we're talking about investing, now it becomes intuitive and now it becomes more natural. Now your intuition can guide you when it comes to which investments are likely to have a larger ROI, or which investments are going to pop off right when you need them. That's the part I love. Have you ever had a situation when you received money at exactly the time that you needed it? There's a sudden expense, maybe there's something that you want, and boom, the money finds you. Imagine investing, and that can happen to you repeatedly. That is what following your natural blueprint, especially when it comes to investing, can provide for you. I don't know what's better than that. I really don't. And so the result? Financial strategies that actually stick because they're in tune with your cosmic blueprint, right? Like things that actually make sense. Things that pop off when you need them to. Savings with a plan that not only feels natural, but yield the results that are best for you. Investing that's intuitive. These are the things that astrology, coupled with a great financial strategy, can provide to you. And again, I don't know what's better than that. Inside my signature natal chart experience, the blueprint, I walk you through your natal money map, your earning style, savings tendencies, and best timing for financial decisions. So it's not just a regular reading. This is a reading plus a 30-day money map. And that 30-day money map takes into account not only your natal chart, but the transits. So you know exactly what actions to take in the next 30 days post reading. So whether that is a savings account, whether that is investing in something, whether it's investing in your business, buying equipment, whatever it is, we are going to go through that in fine detail so you know exactly what actions to take and most importantly, when. All right. And in my online private community, Cosmic Collective, you'll find bonus resources and discussions to help you apply this week's strategies to your real life finances. So every week on Friday afternoons, I like to go live. I like to think of it as like my office hours, okay? And so if you have questions regarding this series, astrology, your particular natal chart, then you'll definitely want to join us over there, all right? It is $11 per month. You get a free 2-week trial so you can try it out and see if you like it, even though I know that you will. But most importantly, you not only learn more via exclusive content that I only post over there, but you get to commune with other astrology enthusiasts who are learning at the same time. So either way, it's a win-win situation. So if you are ready for that one-on-one, then sign up for the blueprint. The first step is to book a free clarity call. Link is in the description box below. Or if you just want some more information and get more acclimated to astrology, then join us over in Cosmic Collective. Link is also in the description box below. All right, my loves, that's pretty much all I've got for you for this video in my 31-day money and astrology series. All right, so to recap, saving and investing the astrological way means using your chart as your financial GPS, timing your moves and honoring your energy. All right, so it's about how you are designed plus what's happening in the sky as it relates to how you're designed when it comes to making your money moves. All right, so don't forget to take the abundance archetype quiz. The link to that is in the description box below so you can understand your natural saving and spending style. All right, if you want more, whether it's more content, you want more information, you want to answer questions, join us over in Cosmic Collective for this week's live Q&A on integration and strategy. And finally, don't forget to enter the giveaway. All right, every comment, every share, and every quiz sign up counts as an entry. And we're tracking submissions until the final day of this series. So when we hit our next subscriber milestone, I'll be announcing the winners live during my weekly live stream. So make sure that you are subscribed, notifications are turned on, and so you don't miss a thing. All right, and if you want to know more about the details of the giveaway and if you want to enter, the link is also in the description box below. All right, so join us tomorrow where we are going to talk about one of my favorite, albeit underemphasized points in our natal chart, and I use the word point intentionally, called the part of fortune and what it has to say about your financial flow. All right, so yeah, join us tomorrow for all of that juicy information. All right, my loves, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you got some good information from this video. There is much more in store, and I will see you in my next one. All right, my loves, take care.